Good day to YouTube. Today we're making grilled chicken Caesar pizza. I used to order this every time I went to a pizza place in Manchester called Chroma, which is now sadly shuttered. Pizza just seemed like a no-brainer as a vehicle for Caesar salad and succulent grilled chicken. Crispy, cold, garlicky lettuce colliding with a warm and chewy pizza base. I don't expect many of you to actually recreate this pizza, but I know if you watch the video, you'll learn quite a few things. Like how an air fryer can cook a chicken breast perfectly, how to make the same homemade Caesar dressing that we used to make tableside at my dad's restaurant, and you'll discover probably the only viable way to put anchovies on a pizza and be sure that everyone will eat it. Roll on with the food. I only use two special tools to make this dish. One you should all know about, it's my trusty steel. Putting this on the top rack of your oven ensures a nice spring and colour from your pizza. The second is this air fryer. I used it because I wanted to cook the pizza and chicken at the same time, with the chicken needing a much lower temperature. If you haven't got one, you can always cook your chicken off in advance and simply serve it at room temperature. After all, it needs to rest for a good 5 to 6 minutes anyways. And also for this video, I used my wet sponge method dough, which utilizes a kind of accelerated pre-ferment that allows you to make pizza dough more quickly while still packing it with flavor. You can check out my master dough video right here for more detailed explanations. But in the following chapter, I will provide you with simple step-by-step instructions. Okay, to make this dough, the first thing we're going to do is add 740 grams of cold water to 440 grams of all-purpose flour. Then we shall add 1.4 grams of instant dried yeast and whisk this all together until bubbles start to form. In a separate bowl, we're going to mix 35 grams of vital wheat gluten, 22 grams of diastatic malt, 33 grams of white sugar, and mix that together with a whisk. This is going to go on top of our sponge. That's called a wet sponge, that right there. And it's just going to form a little barrier between it and the air around it. Then on top of that, the rest of the yeast goes. 1.4 grams of instant dry yeast on the very top. Then we're going to rest this mixture between 1 to 4 hours at room temperature. If you go the full 4 hours, you're going to get the most taste out of it. After those 4 hours, we're going to mix it all up until it starts to take the shape of a dough consistency, and then transfer it to a flat surface to knead. Knead it for about 7 to 8 minutes. Then we're going to add 18 grams of olive oil and 20 grams of table salt and keep mixing it again. We're going to knead it for another 7-ish minutes with the oil and salt in it, and then try to perform the window pane test where you stretch a small portion over a light source, and if you can see light without it breaking, she's done. Fold her back up into a ball, put her into a bowl and cover and leave it room temperature for 20 minutes. After those 20 minutes, it'll be time to divide the balls. For this dough, you're going to be able to make 5 dough balls of roughly 380 to 390 grams each. If you want to halve the recipe, just make your dough balls smaller, but 3 of them. Once you've divided the dough into your 5 pieces, it's time to roll them up into little dough balls, and you can do that by turning the dough into itself like you see here and just rolling it against the palm of your hand till it becomes more globular. Now, by all means, if you want to use one of these dough balls tonight, transfer one to a bigger bowl and leave covered at room temperature for 2 to 3 hours. But if you want to create even more flavor in these dough balls, you put them in the fridge for a cold ferment and leave them in there overnight for 24 hours. If you haven't got any cool little silicone dough containers, just put them on a flat floured tray and covered in plastic. The first thing we're going to do is roast some garlic. 8 cloves of garlic and a liberal squirt of neutral oil gets wrapped up in tin foil, aluminum foil as they call it in America, and stick that bad boy in the oven on 400 degrees for about 10 or 11 minutes. I did overcook mine, but I'll show you how I dealt with that later. Now at this point, I've already had a dough ball out for a couple of hours and I've just set the oven to 550 degrees. If you cook a chicken breast on 550 degrees, you're going to absolutely kill it. So that's why I cracked the old air fryer out. The plan is to sear it nicely in the pan, get some nice Maillard reaction, and then stick it in my handy dandy air fryer on 370 degrees for about 15 minutes. Here you can see I'm sealing all sides of that bad titty and pulling off the little filetto. I'll just let that cook separately in the pan. I shall dip it in my dressing to test it out later. Once the fat on top is rendered and nice and crispy, it will get topped with a large sprig of both thyme and rosemary. Look at this bundle of freshness. Then just pop it into the old air fritador. You can see I've set it over here for 15 minutes, and that's roughly how long it took. After all of that, your garlic should be ready. Mine were really crispy, they were overdone. And keeping things old school and back to basics, I tried to use 2 forks to mash them up, but it just wasn't happening in the metal bowl. So I took them out and I mashed them up on my Dalstrong butcher block. And then added them back to the bowl, to which I added some Italian anchovies. Anchovies are either underrated or reviled, and it's really not fair. They're absolutely packed with glutamates, which is where we get that umami, that savory taste from. Not flavor, but taste. The only problem usually is when you're putting them on top of a pizza, they can be very overpowering. So this is a perfect little way to get them in there. I used 5 of these bad boys, but if you're feeling frisky, you can put 6 in. 1.5 teaspoons of whole grain Dijon Grey Poupon mustard. The Dijon has a little bit of horseradish in there, so it's going to give us a bit of extra bite. Get the anchovies mashed up, but for me, I just went for a little bit chunky of a texture. I didn't really care about the dressing being super smooth. 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar, and a few dashes of Worcestershire sauce, as they call it in America, which is basically anchovy juice, but it also has tamarind and other stuff in it. Whisk that together with 1 egg yolk till fully homogeneous for my American viewers, which is most of you, and then slowly pour in roughly 1 cup, 113 grams of extra virgin olive oil, very slowly as you are whisking it till it becomes salad dressing-y. Give it a little taste. It's going to be salty. You probably won't need salt for this dressing. Time was up on the chicken. Cooking anyways. It still has to be rested, which is equally as important. 5 minutes minimum, but I left it till everything else was ready. Resting it ensures that all the juices stay inside the chicken breast. I finished the dressing off with a liberal handful of grated Parmesan cheese and freshly chopped parsley. The parsley is going to give it a really fresh taste, and it's going to get a nice squirt of fresh lemon juice as well to give it some extra acidity and zestaroonies. Finish with cracked pepper, and you have a gourmet, one-of-a-kind, delicious Caesar dressing. You probably won't use all of it for a pizza, but you can keep it in the fridge and use it day after day like we did. So the dough ball's been out now for a couple of hours. It's doubled in size, and I'm just going to lightly shape it. I'm going for like a fluffy, kind of bouncy, bready type of shape. And shaping your pizza starts with when you're opening it up. Just be gentle with it. I brushed some extra virgin onto the pizza, even though most of the flavonoids will be mostly destroyed in the oven. Then I grated some low moisture mozzarella, aged grano padano, and some provolone picante. The latter 2 are more suited for Caesar salad, and the first one's there just for texture. It's going to go on the preheated steel on the top rack of my oven that's been preheating for an hour. Here you can see my slide and test method for using a peel. Check out my dough videos for a more in-depth explanation there. When it comes to cooking chicken, you can probe it or you can give it a little prod and see if it's firm. I dare say that mine went slightly over, but it was still very, very juicy. And that chicken skin on top was beautiful and crispy. I'm doing this while the pizza's in the oven, so it's ready to assemble when that bad boy comes out. Another little juice bounce check there for you. It looks lovely, doesn't it? And then just set all those slices to the side while you prepare everything else. I washed some romaine lettuce leaves in my spinner, and now it's just time to assemble. I counted out exactly 8 slices of romaine so that there'd be 1 for each slice when I slice it up, and then I ripped another 9th slice into pieces to go right in the middle, and then I just arranged it however I saw bloody fit to do so. Drizzle with your dressing, go ham if you really want, finish with some fresh cracked pepper and then some grated grana padano this time, some using a potato peeler to get that bad boy, and then I finished it with some shaky pom-pom. There you go, lovely. For some of you, this is probably the weirdest thing you've ever seen. I'd imagine maybe 1 in 1,000 of you will actually make this. The most underrated meat of all time. So succulent and juicy with a crispy top. Crispy cool lettuce, garlicky, anchovy. I don't expect there to be, you know, thousands of views for this video at all, but, you know, I wanted to do it and I did it. I'm fucking delicious. There's only two special tools.